If you take a look at the Tennessee Titans draft visits, sure does look like a team preparing for a Jeffery Simmons trade. I'll explain. Plus, Cam Ward basically confirmed he's going to be a Tennessee Titan. On YouTube, I'll break it down on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. On today's episode, we're going to continue the 2025 Locked On Titans NFL Draft Preview Series. We're going to talk about the stinky group of linebackers in this draft, but we're going to focus on the interior defensive linemen who I think could potentially replace Jeffery Simmons. And again, if you look at the draft visits the Titans have used on interior defensive linemen, well, it's not hard to connect the potential dots. But we're going to start with Cam Ward's live stream on YouTube on Tuesday night. It was absolutely ridiculous, and he all but confirmed he's going to be a Tennessee Titan. So I'm going to go over all the highlights of that with you guys, get into the draft stuff. Do want to let you know that I appreciate you guys making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. You're not going to beat that anywhere else. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. Speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys. If you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one. Again, going through every single position in the NFL draft. We've done the offense. We've done the edge. Now we're getting defensive line. We're getting linebacker. We're going to do the secondary on tomorrow's show. Plus, the draft is literally a week away. I'm going to have so much draft content for you, as I always do every single year. Cannot wait. What's my crazy draft take going to be this year? I'm sure you guys are waiting with bated breath. But with all that preamble out of the way, Cam Ward's live stream was absolutely ridiculous. He went live on YouTube playing Fortnite. And look, if you're somebody over the age of 40, your eyes are probably rolling into the back of your head right now. At my age, I'm 34. I am right in the spot where, like, that's still young person activity to do that. But at the same time, streaming video games, like I play video games too. I'm 34. I'm a responsible adult. It's just, there's a generational gap here. And I think, some of my listeners who may be in a different age group may take this as, oh, I don't want my starting quarterback playing video games online. And I admit there's a lot of potential for something to go wrong. I was scared the entire time I was listening to it, because if he says the wrong thing, it could totally ruin his career. That's how this works. But overall, it was an incredibly joyous experience. I thought it was so much levity. Cam Ward was very funny. He clearly has a sense of humor, and he has a dry sense of humor where he says things in a serious way, but he's actually joking. And for me, that is exactly what I like. It reminds me of the TV show The Office, but Cam went out of his way to show love to the Tennessee Titans. I would go as far as to say he was pandering to his teammates. Cam Ward was asked who the top 4 running backs in the NFL are. His first 2 were Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. And then he said Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara. And if you didn't know, Alvin Kamara did go to the University of Tennessee. So very clear what he was doing there. Then he was asked for the top 4 wide receivers. And this is where things really got hilarious. Of course, he said Calvin Ridley first. Who are the best 4 wide receivers in the NFL? And he said Calvin Ridley first. And then he said Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. And he took a long pause and he said, Treylon Burks, baby. He said, Treylon Burks, he's a dog, just had some injuries. And I remember his exact quote was, he had a setback for the setup. He's about to break out this year. So listen, if Cam Ward can come in and get Treylon Burks' career on track, I mean, whatever he wants the rest of his life, let him have it. What a miracle worker. I mean, that is, he's a mythical beast at that point if he's able to get Treylon Burks' career back on track. But I mean, just absolutely outright hilarious. And like the guy that he was playing with, who's a former college teammate, I think Incarnate Word teammate, might have been high school though, I don't know for certain, but his name was Malik. But either way, he's just laughing in the background like, this is ridiculous. He did mention A.J. Brown, and he said, hey, A.J. Brown is a dog, but he ain't no Calvin Ridley. Let's go, man. Again, it was a joyous experience. I know not everybody knew about it or saw it, and I didn't even pick up on it until it had kicked off for about 15 minutes or so. But just absolutely hilarious, and it's just so obvious. Again, it's just so obvious that he's being drafted by the Titans. They asked about his favorite coaches in the NFL. He mentioned Brian Callahan first. You think Cam Ward even knew who Brian Callahan was until the draft process started? Like, I doubt it. You know, he said the Titans have a top 5 defense. He put T'Vondre Sweat and Jeffery Simmons ahead of Jalen Carter and Max Crosby. Like, it was hilarious. It was, and he just kept a straight attitude, straight face. He just so deadpan the entire time, so serious. It was hilarious. And then the part that really got me was he said, we got Sneed, and we got Sneed. And I know you cynical, hateful people are going to, L'Jarius Sneed sucks. Why would he want? He's just showing love to the team. And I do want to say that there were some people who took this and were like, oh, this act is going to get old quick for NFL players. Man, I just don't understand the world today that we can't, like, everything has to be sullied with some sort of negative response. Like, everybody, you know, can be having a good time. And there has to be a couple of people who are just like, oh, this is a bad thing because, like, he was just having fun, playing games. He's a 22-year-old kid just talking about sports. He talked about basketball. He loves the Lakers. My guy said he might wear number 77. Shout out Luka Doncic. He did say, though, that 11 sounded good. But it sounded like he wants number 1, and he's hoping that the Tennessee Titans will let him wear it. He even said, like, you know, it's up to the team. I want a retired number. So, again, everything he said here is completely confirmed that he's going to be drafted by the Tennessee Titans. Like, he played it cool with his top 5 coaches. He said Brian Callahan, Kevin Stefanski, Brian Dable, Pete Carroll, Kellen Moore he threw in there, Aaron Glenn he threw in there. So, look, he played it cool. He played it fun. But, again, it's clear he couldn't outright say it, but let's be real. You're saying that Treylon Burks is one of the top 4 wide receivers. You're joking about that. Like, you're just hyping up your teammates and being a leader and instilling faith in your guys and letting them know, you know, I know who you are. We're going to be working together. We're going to make this thing happen. So I really enjoyed it. It came down. It's not there anymore. And obviously the cynical people, again, he deleted it. It's unprofessional. He knew it was stupid afterwards. Apparently there's a feature on YouTube where if your settings are set up in a certain way, any live video on demand or whatever that you do goes private afterwards. A bunch of people were telling me, I'm on YouTube all the time, using YouTube, obviously, platform on YouTube, all of that. I didn't even know that. So, you know, I'm just saying, let's hold off on the skepticism. It was just a fun, good time. And again, Cam Ward is going to be the number 1 pick for the Tennessee Titans. But will Jeffery Simmons be around to see it? I'm not as certain as I used to be. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like the atmosphere of the NBA playoffs. Every bucket, every stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena. And with Game Time, you can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when the demand is sky high. The prices on the app actually go down as you get closer to tip-off, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. I love Game Time. Again, the last-minute deals can save up to 60% for not just sports, but concerts, comedy, theater, and trust me, I purchased it all on Game Time. I'm not lying to you. Multiple football tickets, basketball. I did NBA and WA on Game Time. Went and got Shane Gillis comedy tickets on Game Time. I mean, you can get Drake tickets on Game Time. And they have all-in pricing, no surprise fees, a panoramic view from your seat so you know what you're looking at. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about Cam Ward's live stream that essentially confirmed he will be the Tennessee Titans' #1 overall pick. I've been telling you guys for weeks and weeks, don't worry about it. It's the truth. It's going to happen. It's whatever. Whether you want to listen to me or not, that's perfectly fine. It's up to you. But regardless, I'm right. They're taking Cam Ward. And it was very interesting to hear all that. But now we need to move to what the team will look like after. And Jeffery Simmons is a very interesting player to talk about here. So Simmons is getting paid a lot of money. He's been with the team for quite some time, since the 2019 draft. He is the most talented and best player on the team. And I do think that you can build a defense around him. But it is fair at this time with what we've seen from Simmons in recent years, with the injuries, the lack of pass rush production, the dips in play for extended weeks. He's just not dominant like Aaron Donald or Chris Jones or Jalen Carter was for the Eagles last year. Like, he's just never taken the next step from one of the top 10 defensive tackles in the NFL, top 5 defensive tackle in the NFL when the defensive line was better. But he's just never taken that jump to, oh, he's an elite defensive tackle consistently every single year, one of the top 3 guys at the position. He's never taken that jump. Even with good years, he was a 2-time All-Pro. And with that in mind, Mike Borgonzi comes in and he could say, hey, this is a rebuilding football team. Jeffery Simmons is on a big-time contract and has shown that, even when the roster is better, I don't know if he's necessarily that level of player. I don't think the Tennessee Titans should trade Jeffery Simmons. I do not think that. But they very well could. And if you're looking to get back a bunch of draft capital, and since you can't trade back at #1 overall because you're taking Cam Ward, you're going to go into the Cam Ward era where he is the face of the team. He is the leader of the team, where Jeffery Simmons has been the last couple of years since, Derrick Henry left. It may be in the Titans' best interest to move Jeffery Simmons. You're going to get a bunch of draft picks back, probably a second and a third-round pick in this year's draft. Get off the money. And again, the big point is you can pair him with an interior defensive lineman in the draft that does similar things. And the Titans have been sniffing heavily around those types of defensive linemen, and especially day 2 defensive linemen. So at the top of the interior defensive line class, you have Mason Graham from Michigan. He's a 6'3", 300-pound, prototypical technical 3 technique. He's very technical, very smart, good athlete. He's good across the board. He's probably going to go top 10, maybe top 5 to Jacksonville. Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss is another guy who may go first round. He's a penetrating, athletic 3 technique. Powerful, 6'3", 300 pounds. Could get even better at the NFL level than he was in college. I feel like I say that a lot about Ole Miss players. Kenneth Grant, another guy out of Michigan, but he is more of a high upside nose tackle like T'Vondre Sweat. He's not quite as big as T'Vondre Sweat. He's 6'3", 331. He's not 6'5", 360. But similarly like Sweat, he's a nose tackle who can stuff the run, but might have some upside as a pass rusher. Derek Harmon is a guy where I really want to kind of stop and have a moment and say, this is a guy who I think realistically could get taken by the Titans at pick number 35. Derek Harmon out of Oregon is 6'4", 322 pounds. So other than Kenneth Grant, who's a different style of player, he's bigger than Walter Nolan and Mason Graham. He is what I would say is a physical power 3 technique. Big, strong, explosive off the line of scrimmage, strong, powerful hands. He could shoot gaps too, though. He's got some good athleticism to him. He's not a great tackler. He doesn't finish plays the way that you need to. And the reality is he just doesn't have anything special about it. But if you're looking for a solid starter as a physical 3 technique and remember, a 3 technique is like Jeffery Simmons. That's somebody who lines up between the guard and the tackle. A nose tackle is either in the gap between the center and the guard or head up over the center. That's typically what you would see. So nose tackle, big, heavy body, run stuffing, T'Vondre Sweat type guys. Penetrating 3 technique, like a Jarrell Casey type player. Athletic, speed, physical 3 technique, Jeffery Simmons. Big, strong, maybe not the quickest, but a powerful man. That's the different style of players that we're talking about when I describe these guys to you. So keep that in mind. But Derek Harmon, again, I think is a realistic option for the Titans at 35 if they do decide to trade Jeffery Simmons. Now, some of these players, I think the Titans very well may take, even if they're not going to trade Jeffery Simmons, just because they need to get better in pass rush, especially on the interior. Okay? So, continuing forward, Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State, a guy I don't think makes as much sense for the Titans. He's 6'2", 334 pounds, but he is an interior run defender. He can play 3 technique. He might be able to play a little shade as a nose tackle, maybe. He's explosive for his size. He's strong. He can hold his spot. He can shoot gaps. He's just got short arms. He's limited as a pass rusher. Just never going to – and I think the Titans need pass rush now that they have T'Vondre Sweat as a run-stuffing nose tackle. Darius Alexander, though, 25 years old, out of Toledo, 6'3", 305 pounds. He was amazing at the Senior Bowl in one-on-one pass rush reps. Amazing. The tape isn't quite as good as the Senior Bowl performance, but he would be a penetrating 3 technique. He has great length, great strength. He's a good athlete with a good bull rush. He strikes shoulder pads well. He's a smart player when it comes to like looking around and understanding what's going to happen. He's just a bit thin, 6'3", 305. It's a bit thin. His pass rush moves aren't quite as advanced as you would hope for a 25-year-old player, and he's not really going to be a guy who's good in run defense, holding his position, taking on double teams, that kind of stuff. So he truly is a penetrating 3 technique, but the limitations in run defense make me wonder. And again, he's 25 years old, and he still needs to develop more of an advanced moveset in the pass rush. So Darius Alexander out of Toledo is a guy who the Titans have visited with. They had him in on a top 30 visit. So again, start to connect some of those dots. The next guy, TJ Sanders out of South Carolina, another guy who the Titans had in on a visit. And what kind of player is he at 6'3", 305 pounds? The same exact measurements as Darius Alexander from that standpoint. He is a speed penetrating 3 technique who is going to be more of a pass rusher. He's twitchy. He could chase you down from the backside. He's a good finisher. He actually gets the production in the backfield when he gets there. Good hands. He can shoot gaps. He just, again, 6'3", 305. It's a bit smaller. Doesn't have big size. Doesn't come with advanced strength. Another guy who maybe is not going to hold as well against double teams. Maybe doesn't have a super powerful bull rush. But a penetrating 3. It's clear that the Titans are, and we'll get to another one. Another visit for the Titans. Omar Norman Lott out of Tennessee. 6'1", 303 pounds. Check, check, check. And he is going to be a rotational interior pass rusher. Now, Norman Lott was a part-time player at Tennessee. Didn't have a full-time role. He was in a rotation. Doesn't have a good anchor to hold his position against run blocking. He's not going to be a very good run defender, but he's a guy who you can rotate in on third downs. Like, imagine if he can swap places with T'Vondre Sweat on 60% of pass rush snaps. You still get 40% from T'Vondre Sweat, but now you have a guy who's more of a speedy rusher, more of a pure pass rusher next to Jeffery Simmons, next to Arden Key, next to Draymond Jones, and that's your 4 rushers. You know, that would make some sense. Incredible efficiency as a pass rusher. He wins when he's out there. He's explosive off the line of scrimmage, great hands. He'll chase you down. He shoots gaps. Like Omar Norman Lott. Now, Darius Alexander and TJ Sanders, I think are, again, I would take Derek Harmon at 35. If the Titans trade down in the second round or trade Jeffery Simmons for more picks, I would take Darius Alexander, TJ Sanders, more in the, 40 to 60 range. Omar Norman Lott, I'm looking at like 50 to 70 in a trade down situation. Okay, just to give you guys an idea of where I think these guys would get picked. Alfred Collins is another guy in this range, but he's 6'5", 330 pounds. He's a versatile run stuffer out of Texas, can play nose tackle, can play other spots on the inside interior, big, strong, hold against double teams, played with good motor. Like, he's a classic physical run stuffing nose tackle. Deion Walker out of Kentucky, 6'7", 334. I'm not high on Deion Walker. He's a big, huge, versatile guy. Again, 6'7", 330. That's a monster. So the size, strong hands, quick feet for a guy his size. But he looks more like a failed basketball player trying to play football, in my opinion. He's thin. His pad level is high. He's an easy guy to get hands on. His technique isn't good. It reminds me of, was it Sean Oakman out of Baylor, who was just a massive monster. He had that famous picture of him with his abs out, 6'8", blah, 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 but he couldn't play football. So, whatever. There are other guys in the draft on the interior defensive line who I think, if we talk about past the top 100, we talk about the fourth round or later. Shamar Turner is an undersized pass rushing interior defensive lineman out of Texas A&M. Good motor, good gap shooter. He'd just be a little bit reckless. Joshua Farmer, similarly, out of Florida State, 6'3", 312 pounds. He is a pass rush only versatile defensive lineman. He can move up and down the defensive line, but probably only going to give you pass rush ability, which the Titans are probably looking for. So Joshua Farmer, Shamar Turner could make sense, again, after the top 100 picks. Aeneas Peebles is a rotational pass rush only guy out of Virginia Tech who's undersized, 6 foot, 289. Ty Robinson out of Nebraska, taller, 6'5", 291, but again, just more of a penetrating pass rusher. CJ West out of Indiana is an athletic nose tackle. Think like a Tierra Tart style player. JJ Pagias, I think is how you say it, out of Ole Miss, is like an athletic, undersized, penetrating interior defensive lineman who also plays fullback. Could be, I don't think the Titans are going to take Pagias or however you say it, but Vernon Broughton out of Texas is a penetrating 3 technique, but he's bigger, 6'5", 314. I think he could be a great fit for the Titans who want bigger defensive linemen. You get that penetrating 3 technique with length and hands and quickness, but you also get bigger size at 6'5", 314 than the 6'3", 300-pound guys who we talked about earlier. But the guy I want to focus on before we move on to the bad linebacker group, which I'm going to fly through, quite honestly, because they're terrible. Ew, brother. Ew. Stinky. But Cam Jackson out of Florida, 6'6", 328. He could be a backup to T'Vondre Sweat. He is a big physical nose tackle. He could be part of a rotation. I don't know if he'll ever be a certified starter, but he could be an early down nose tackle. He can be a rotational nose tackle. I think if the Titans are looking to play nickel a ton, which they probably are, you need a big run-stuffing nose tackle in there, and having Cam Jackson would give the Titans the opportunity to rest T'Vondre Sweat a little bit more. Ty Hamilton out of Ohio State is a versatile run stuffer. I'm thinking 6th round now. Tim Smith out of Alabama. Zeke Biggers out of Georgia Tech. Tyrion Ingram Dawkins out of Georgia. All different kinds of defensive linemen. I think at that point, though, we're talking about undrafted free agents. So that's the interior defensive line class. Again, Derek Harmon at the top. Darius Alexander, TJ Sanders, Omar Norman Law, Shamar Turner, Joshua Farmer, Vernon Broughton, Cam Jackson. Don't be surprised if the interior defensive lineman the Titans draft comes out of that group of names that I just read you. But let's talk about these linebackers. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Quite frankly, I think some of these linebackers better hop on LinkedIn Jobs, get their resume right. But as a small business owner, your work doesn't end when the clock hits 5. Your business is always on your mind. And that means when it's time to hire, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. And that's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates all in one place. Post Your Job. It's LinkedIn's new feature that can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. And here's a pro tip. If you add the hashtag hiring frame to your profile picture, you're going to double your reach to qualified candidates. No wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find high quality hires. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about Cam Ward's live stream and how enjoyable that was. We talked about the Tennessee Titans potentially trading Jeffery Simmons and who could potentially replace him in the draft. Also, the Titans could go a little later in the draft or just as early and just look for someone to add to the defensive line. I'm not saying Simmons will be traded, but just saying it is a possibility, and the Titans have done their homework in case they need to do it. But now we need to talk about the linebackers. And I'm telling you, folks, linebacker group, not good. Not surprised that the Tennessee Titans brought back Otis Reese on an exclusive rights free agent deal. Not surprised that the Titans made sure they had Cody Barton before they traded Kenneth Murray. Not shocked by any of that. You still have James Williams. You still have Cedric Gray. So you have some young linebackers. You have one certified starter, which means that you don't really need to draft a linebacker if you don't want. You have 3 young linebackers that are cheap right now that you plan to develop. You do not necessarily need to throw another linebacker in that mix. It is not a requirement. And quite honestly, this is a terrible linebacker class. Like, this is an awful linebacker group. And I don't know if any of these guys are even better than Otis Reese outside of like the top couple of names. So who are the top names? Number 1 is Jahad Campbell out of Alabama. He's a freak, okay? 6'2", 235 pounds. He's a versatile athlete who can rush the passer. He can blitz, sideline to sideline pursuit guy, and can still develop. Like, he can get even better at the mental aspect of playing linebacker. If he's there at 35, I'm taking him. I don't even value linebackers like that. My everydayers who listen to me all the time talk about my philosophies on how to build a roster, I never want to give up any expensive asset, contract, draft pick, trade on interior linebacker. I simply don't. I'll draft him on day 3 in the mid rounds every single year, except this year. But Jahad Campbell is a guy I could not pass on at 35. No way. No way. Fits too well, too perfect. Carson Schlesinger out of UCLA, 6'2", 242 pounds. He is more of a coverage linebacker than like the downhill, physical, athletic linebacker that Jahad Campbell is. He's a great coverage guy, good athlete, smooth mover. He's just got limited power. He's just never going to be a guy that plays with a ton of strength, getting like powering through blocks. He's going to be slicing around, using his athleticism. Demetrius Knight is an interesting player. Now, after Schlesinger and Jahad Campbell, for Demetrius Knight, I'm not taking Demetrius Knight or any linebacker that I name after anywhere ahead of the 3rd round. Like, once the 3rd round starts, if the Titans are able to acquire a 3rd round pick, then maybe you draft Demetrius Knight out of South Carolina, 6'1", 236 pounds. He's a balanced, strong linebacker with limited athleticism who's already 25 years old. So he's ready to come in and contribute. But honestly, no. I changed my mind. I'm not taking Demetrius Knight in the 3rd round, 4th round. 103, I could accept it. But Chris Paul out of Ole Miss, Pooh Paul is his nickname. He's 6 foot tall, 225 pounds. Now, he's powerful, and he'll chase you down. He's a good athlete, but he's tiny. Think about David Long. It's the kind of player you're thinking about with Chris Paul. That's the type of player. David Long was about 220, 5'11", I think. That's the kind of player you're thinking about, Chris Paul. But, David Long got taken in the 6th round. So I'm not taking Chris Paul anywhere at, 141. I would take Chris Paul if he's there. Why not? Barrett Carter out of Clemson, 6 foot, 232. He's more of a coverage linebacker, experienced coverage linebacker. He's had a ton of time in college. Danny Stutzman out of Oklahoma. If I'm going to take one of these linebackers, I'll take Stutzman. He has no idea how to play linebacker, though. Like the IQ, read and diagnose, coverage awareness, any mental aspect of playing linebacker, he's not good. But he's 6'3" and he's 236 pounds. So he's a lot bigger than a lot of these other guys we've talked about. And he is athletic. So if you think you could bring in Danny Stutzman and teach him how to be a linebacker and you do it, you probably have a pretty decent starting linebacker on your hands. So I would take a chance on Stutzman in like the 5th round. 120, 141. Sure. Why not? You know? Shmuel Mondin out of Georgia, 6'2", 229, big, fast, not great in run defense, though, with the mental aspect of run defense. He's more of a coverage linebacker. Jeff Bossa out of Oregon, 6'1", 230, rangy, but he's not very good against the run. Probably another guy who's primarily going to have a coverage role early on along with special teams. Cody Simon out of Ohio State, 6'1", 230, downhill physical run stopper, terrible in pass coverage. Needs to be good on special teams. We're talking about 7th round, undrafted free agent guys now. Jack Kaiser out of Notre Dame, all the intangibles, but a limited athlete. Think about like a guy like Jack Gibbons, for example. Kobe King out of Penn State, run stuffer who can't cover. Teddy Buchanan actually had a visit with the Tennessee Titans. 6'2", 235 out of Cal. He's strong. He's smart. Good athlete, but short arms, can't shed blocks, doesn't have the strength and the power to get off blocks. Probably a special teams only guy. He's strong, he's smart, he's a good athlete. Like, put him on special teams. Shamar James out of Florida, undrafted athlete, special teams possibility. Jay Higgins is the last guy I'm going to mention. Listen, Higgins is a guy who will probably get drafted in round 7 or go undrafted. He's out of Iowa, 6', 233. He's not a good athlete. He does not have good length. Nothing about Jay Higgins is extraordinary or special. Man, he's just smart and savvy, and he's physical. So he's just one of those guys who could get drafted on day 3 or go undrafted that I think could carve out a role, special teams, and be in a solid rotational linebacker. But not a great linebacker class. And with the Titans' 3 young developmental linebackers and Otis Reese, this is Otis Reese last year too. Otis Reese, Cedric Gray, and James Williams. Like, if the Titans don't take a linebacker at all, I'm perfectly fine with it. Just grab an undrafted free agent to come in and compete on special teams. But with that being said, let me know your favorite interior defensive lineman. Let me know your favorite linebackers. That's going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.